1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Thursday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, Before Dark. In for Rick Ballou tonight here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. In fact, Rick did the 12 to 2 show earlier today, so I'm in for him 6 o'clock until 8 o'clock. We are certainly glad you are spending part of your Thursday evening with us. A Thursday evening that finds us 3 weeks away, 3 little weeks away from the National Football League draft up in Pittsburgh, April 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Of course, for the first time in the history of the Jaguar franchise, they currently go into the draft without a first-round selection. But what they do have are 11 picks overall, including 4 picks in the top 100. Picks 56, 81, 88, and 100. So we will certainly spend some time on the NFL draft. We will certainly spend some time on the National Basketball Association later on as well. Boy, my Orlando Magic. I know Orlando's been in the news a lot, right, with Jacksonville announcing the Jaguars are going to play at Camping World Stadium. I've been a diehard Orlando Magic fan. Orlando's kind of like a second home to me, and they have completely and totally quit on head coach Jamal Mosley. That was absolutely embarrassing last night in their loss to the Atlanta Hawks. By the way, the Hawks are something like 17-2 in their last 19 games. So we will talk a little NBA. You know, we got the Final Four coming up this weekend on Saturday, the national championship game on Monday. The NBA playoffs are not far after that. Most teams have between 5 and 7 regular season games to go. So we are only about 2 weeks away, a little less than 2 weeks away from playoff basketball in the NBA. And we will certainly talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars and the offseason that has been. As I was telling Frangie and Carline there during the 2-minute drill, a lot of changeover in the AFC South. I mean, the Tennessee Titans brought in like 20 new players. The Texans, I believe, via trade and free agency, about 10. Indianapolis, not very many, only about 4 or 5. And then you got Jacksonville with 1, right? 1 new player that was not here when the season ended. And that, of course, is running back Chris Rodriguez. So we'll talk about the lack of turnover on the roster. Is that a good thing or a bad thing for the Jaguars moving forward? In fact, that's where we're going to begin our conversation in just one moment. Guest lineup tonight looks like this. Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated, who was out at the NFL owners' meetings earlier this week out in Phoenix. He will join us coming up here in about 15 or so minutes, and we'll kind of get a lay of the land on his thoughts on the Jaguar offseason. And again, take a look at the rest of the AFC South, what has been done in Houston, Indianapolis, and Nashville. So Matt Verderame of SI coming up in less than 20 minutes. Also Tyler Forness, A to Z Sports.com, covering the National Football League draft. With Tyler, I want to focus in on defense, right? I think most people will tell you, including myself, of the 11 draft picks the Jaguars have, I would say the over-under's probably 7, maybe 7.5 of those picks are going to be on the defensive side of the ball. Linebacker, interior defensive line, edge, maybe a corner, maybe a safety. I think it is going to be a heavy defensive class for James Gladstone, Liam Cohen, Tony Boselli, and the Jaguars. So we'll focus primarily on linebackers, potentially to replace Devin Lloyd. On the interior defensive line, guys the Jaguars have a realistic shot at getting in the second round and with their 3 third-round picks. I was talking last night. You know, I've been fortunate enough to do this on 1010XL for, as a matter of fact, exactly 19 years. Today is our birthday, our anniversary. I'll get to more of that here in a moment. But 19 years on this radio station. I was at Brand X for about 3 or 4 years before that. So roughly 23, 24 NFL drafts that I've been lucky enough to be on the radio here in Jacksonville. By April 2nd, man, I can tell you this guy and that guy and this guy and that guy when it comes to the top 20, top 25 prospects in the league coming into the draft. Obviously, the Jaguars, more times than not, were picking in the top 10. This year, I just haven't talked about any of these guys because the Jaguars aren't going to draft them, right? The Jaguars aren't on the clock, at least right now, until pick 56. So you see all these mock drafts, and I see all these guys going, like Bailey from Texas Tech and Reese and Tate and all these guys that are going in the top 5, top 10. I just haven't talked at all about these guys because the Jaguars obviously are not in play for them. So it's been a very different draft season for us here on 1010XL when it comes to the Jaguars. But we will talk with Tyler Forness of A to Z Sports.com, primarily about the defensive guys that the Jaguars could realistically get in round 2 or in round 3. So we're glad you're with us. We're here till 8 o'clock. Again, in for Rick Ballou. It is Hacker After Dark, before dark, here on a Thursday. Every night on HAD, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Aaron Williams, let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No, but it is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
More Jaguar talk coming up in about 2 minutes. I did want to say, and I'm sure other shows have as well, 19 years today for us as a radio station here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. April 2nd of 2007 is when this radio station launched. Most of us came from another AM signal, so we were all together, or most of us were together prior to April 2nd of 2007, but that is officially the day that this radio station launched 19 years ago today. And you think about the people that are still here that were here on day number 1, and it's a lot of us, right? Hicken and Prosser were here on day number 1. They actually had the first show up in Atlanta for Florida and Ohio State in the college basketball national championship game. That was the first broadcast that 1010XL had back in April of 2007. So both Dan and Jeff were here. Dempsey and Fat Tony were 2 of the original ones back on April 2nd, 2007. Obviously, Frangie was one of the originals. He was up in Atlanta that day when the radio station started. Ballou is one of the originals, and I am fortunate enough to be one of the originals. That's a lot of us, man. 19 years, and a lot of us were here on day number 1. And then obviously our boss man, Steve Griffin. We got Michelle, Queen of the Building, Tom Champion, Chris, a lot of folks that are still here. And next year will be a big one when it's the 20th anniversary. But it's kind of a family atmosphere, man. That's what we like to say. And the fact that so many of us are still here from when the doors opened on April 2nd, 2007. It has been an awesome ride. And what 1010XL has become here in Jacksonville, quite frankly, is something we're all very, very proud of. I'm certainly proud that I was one of the originals here and been almost everywhere up and down the clock, you know, with the exception of mornings. I had a 10 to noon run. I had a 10 to 1 run. I had a 1 to 4 run. There was a 12 to 3 mixed in there. There was a 4 to 7 mixed in there. Heck, there was a 10 to midnight mixed in there at one point. I've kind of settled in from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock most nights, a little bit of an exception tonight with it being 6 to 8. But I'm very, very fortunate, certainly glad that you guys have made us your choice for sports in this area for almost 20 years now, 19 years today. And we tell you all the time, and we cannot possibly tell you enough how much we all absolutely appreciate you guys tuning in each and every day. You know, you talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars, you talk about the offseason. Again, 19 years for us on 1010XL. This is unlike really any offseason for the Jaguars that I can ever remember. I mean, what happens in the offseason here in Jacksonville, right? You know, more times than not. Well, it's active. You bring in this free agent. You bring in that free agent. You bring in a new coach. You bring in this guy. You bring in that guy. There's constant news. I mean, go back as recently as last year. I mean, the opening day of free agency, I think the Jaguars signed 9 guys. From Patrick McCarry to Jordan Lewis to De'Ami Brown to Robert Hainsey. I mean, on and on and on and on. It was just constant. And you think back through the years, the Jaguars always win free agency. It never really translated onto the field. But whether it was Bryce Popp, if you want to go that far back, or Hugh Douglas, or Jerry Porter, or LaRon Robinson, or Aaron Campman, there have been a couple of hits, right? Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, you know, guys like that. Julius Thomas was after the first year. But the Jaguars have always been active, and particularly since Shad Khan took over in 2012, they have been more than willing to spend money in free agency. And then you look at this year, and man, it has been crickets. The season ended 81 days ago. 81 days. It'll be 12 weeks on Sunday that the Jaguars lost to the Buffalo Bills. And in 81 days, Jaguars have lost some guys, right? De'Ami Brown is now a Washington Commander. Greg Newsome is now a New York Giant. Much to my chagrin, Dewey Wingard, my guy Dewey, is in Arizona with the Cardinals. Obviously, Travis Etienne is in New Orleans. Devin Lloyd is in Carolina. Right now, at least, it doesn't appear that Emmanuel Ogbah or Tim Patrick or DeJuan Smoot or Austin Johnson are currently in the plans. Maybe that could change, but at least currently they're not. So the Jaguars have had some people depart in the last 81 days, but they've only brought one guy in. One. Chris Rodriguez, the running back from Washington, a 2-year deal. In fact, Jacksonville and Denver are the only 2 teams in the league, as it stands right now on April 2nd at 6:11 Eastern Standard Time, that have brought in one new player. Now, in Denver's case, it's Jalen Waddle. So it got a little more attention than Chris Rodriguez got. But outside of Denver, everybody else in the league has brought in at least 3 or more guys in free agency or via trade in the last 81 days. Just Jacksonville and Denver, the only 2 teams that have only brought in one. And you look in the AFC South, as I was telling Frank and Hayes there, you're over 35 new players in the division. If you add up all the new transactions that have taken place with the Texans, with the Colts, with the Titans, and with the Jaguars. Like the Titans are in excess of 20 new guys. They've gone nuts. The Texans have brought in roughly 10 new guys. Indianapolis is around 5. So you're talking 35 plus new players. If you add what the Titans have done, the Colts have done, and the Texans have done in the AFC South. 35 just on those 3 teams alone. New guys that were not here with their organizations on March 1st. And here's Jacksonville with 1 in Chris Rodriguez. Now, obviously, what does that tell you? Well, it tells you that the Jaguars like what they have on the roster. It also tells you how cap-strapped they were. If they had money to spend, they would have spent it. Although, I will also let you know the Jaguars do have more money than roughly 7 or 8 other teams in the NFL. And those 7 or 8 other teams the Jaguars have more money than still went out and brought in more guys in free agency than the Jacksonville Jaguars did. The Jaguars were not going to bring in guys just for the sake of bringing in guys. Again, 1 new player in the last 81 days, and that's Chris Rodriguez. Now, that will change later this month in Pittsburgh. NFL draft, the Jaguars have 11 picks total. Will they use 11 picks? I don't know. That's a lot. That's a lot. And we saw James Gladstone last year. He's not afraid to wheel and deal when it comes to draft picks. But whether it's 11, whether it's 9, whether it's 7, there will be an influx of new players finally in the next couple of weeks for us to dive into. But for the first time that I can ever remember and I've done this for a long time. I've been fortunate enough to do this for a long time, including 19 years today as the anniversary of 1010XL. This offseason for Jacksonville has been the quietest offseason I can ever remember. Is that a good thing? Well, I don't think it's a bad thing. We'll see if it's good. They're, resting on your laurels, maybe. Confident in what you already have, perhaps. We'll see if it ultimately works out. But you talk about running it back. That's a popular saying in sports now, right? We're going to run it back. Well, good grief, man. Outside of Devin Lloyd and ETN, which are obviously two guys that were good last year, were very good last year, the Jaguars basically have every starter back. Now, do you count Dewey Wingert as a starter? I think technically you probably do, because I think he started the most games at safety last year. So if you want to get technical, you probably lost 3 of your 22 starters if you include Dewey. But still, a lot of guys are back. Plus, you get Travis Hunter back from injury. You get Caleb Ransaw back, who you never even saw last year. The 3rd-round pick out of Tulane. You never even saw him. He got hurt in the preseason. And Wyatt Milum, you only saw sparingly. Wyatt Milum, the 3rd-round pick from West Virginia, the offensive lineman who everybody was super over the moon about during training camp, he got hurt. He worked his way back in December, but by that point, the hay was in the barn. You only used him a little bit here and a little bit there. So your top 3 draft picks from last year, it was almost like a red shirt. You got 7 games from Hunter. You got 0 games from Ransaw. And you kind of got a handful of games from Milum, but he wasn't starting very much. I don't think he started at all. I mean, there's one game where he played a decent amount, and that was it. So you get those 3 back, you get your draft picks, you add Chris Rodriguez, but by and large, the guys that went 13-4 in 2025 will be counted on to do that again in 2026. Running it back. Will it work? Yet to be seen, but it's certainly something different as the quietest offseason in Jacksonville that I can remember in a long, long time. Let's talk about the offseason. Let's talk about Chris Rodriguez. Let's talk about the departure of Devin Lloyd and Travis Etienne. And let's take a deep dive into the rest of the division. How much better is Tennessee? They spent a ton of money. I'm serious, like over 20 free agents, basically, via trade or free agency. The Titans completely and totally overhauled their roster and overhauled their coaching staff. Indianapolis, on the surface, I hate what the Colts did. I think they massively overpaid for Alec Pierce. They gave Daniel Jones a ton of money, who's coming off an Achilles. They traded Zaire Franklin. They traded Michael Pittman. They lost Brady Smith. They lost Kwity Paye. I hate what the Colts did. We'll talk about them. And as far as Houston goes, still a great defense. You bring in David Montgomery. All right, I like that. But still, it's all coming down to C.J. Stroud, right? I mean, outside of Nico Collins, does the Texan offense have anything that scares you other than number 12? I don't think they do. How much different is the division as we're now 3 weeks away from the draft? Let's talk Jags and the rest of the AFC South. Matt Verderame is one of my favorites from Sports Illustrated. He was out at the owners' meetings earlier this week, and he joins us next on a Thursday evening here in Northeast Florida. Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us till 8 o'clock. It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
This traffic report is brought to you by 1010XL. I-95 North.
Hey, it sucks.
I-95 South.
It sucks.
Beltway East.
Sucks.
Beltway West.
It sucks.
Butler Boulevard.
It sucks.
Indoor golf in Ponte Vedra is here. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Play the best courses in the world at Back Nine Golf. Top simulators, analytics to improve your game, or just have a blast with friends or a client. Get this, you can bring your own beverages, including cocktails. Go to back9golf.com, book a tee time today. Membership opportunities, lessons, Back Nine Golf in Ponte Vedra, next to Nice High School. Back Nine Golf, where golf never sleeps.
Jacksonville, get ready. April 6th, the Florida Theater presents Leonid and Friends. This 11-piece band brings the sound of Chicago to life. Horns, vocals, all the energy. Hear favorites from Chicago, Earth, Wind and Fire, Stevie Wonder, and more. One night only, April 6th. Get your tickets now at floridatheater.com.
So, you finally have some time to yourself. Even if it is just the car ride home, it's you time. And look at you. Do not disturb set before you even got in the car? Impressive. You've earned this moment to just chill and drive. This break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
The Clay County Fair turns 40 this year. 4 decades of crazy rides, live music, great food, and Team 1010XL's food eating contest. It's your main man, E.T., and I'll be looking for you April 2nd through the 12th. Learn more at claycountyfair.org.
Did you know that an annual coating inspection can extend the life of your building by years? Catching early signs like hairline cracks, fading, and moisture intrusion helps prevent costly repairs down the road and keeps your property looking its best. Our team at Performance Painting helps you stay ahead of maintenance with professional inspections and long-lasting coating solutions. Protect your building, protect your budget. Go to performance-painting.com to schedule a free inspection. Performance Painting, repair, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting!
When you drive past a Kuhn Flowers location, did you know their inside showroom is filled with gift items? Kuhn Flowers isn't just for sending flowers. Frank Frangie here, and when I need a unique gift, I head for Kuhn Flowers, Beach Boulevard, and in Ponte Vedra since 1947. Kuhn Flowers.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. Here's another call on the 1010XL hotline, driven by Key Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are glad you are with us. NFL free agency moving right along, and now all eyes start to turn towards the NFL draft. We are inside of a month away, April 23rd, 24th, and 25th up in Pittsburgh. The Jaguars don't have a first-round pick, but what they do have are 4 picks in the top 100. Let's talk about the draft. Let's talk about free agency and how the Jaguar offseason has gone to this point with Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated, who's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Matt, hope your offseason's going well, man. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
We're good. Obviously, some shock value here in Jacksonville with the departures of Travis Etienne and Devin Lloyd. Matt, before we dive into anything else, just your overall thoughts on Lloyd and Etienne departing Jacksonville.
Well, look, not necessarily surprising. Understandably, Jacksonville had declined the option on Lloyd, and he goes out in the best year of his career. I think that he's probably the bigger loss than Etienne from the standpoint of, I think Tootin can really play. I think he's going to be really good for Jacksonville as a full-time back. So, and look, they're going to have other guys obviously carrying the load as well. That, like every team these days, it feels, or at least most teams, it's a running back by committee. You're gonna go with the hot hand at times. But I think Tootin really has quite a bit of talent. And then look at Lloyd Hurts. He really shined last year in a way that there were glimpses of it early on, and then it felt like it wasn't really going to come together. And then all of a sudden last year, you see what he does in pass coverage. You see what he can do. Against the right. He played as a complete player really, consistently for the first time in his career. And so he gets paid. I think Jacksonville's still going to be a very good team. I don't think all of a sudden Jacksonville's going to fall off a cliff. But yeah, look, those are significant pieces, and it can't just be, waved away. It's not a big deal. No, those are 2 good players. And like I said, I think Lloyd is probably the loss that's a little more difficult to replace based on the current roster.
Yeah, and speaking of that, let's begin with Lloyd. Ventrell Miller is here. In fact, if you talk to people here in Jacksonville back in August, before the season started. Many thought that was Ventrell Miller's job. Devin Lloyd obviously came in, won the job, and the rest is history. But is it Ventrell Miller? Is it Jack Kaiser? Or is Lloyd's replacement still not on the roster? I guess we'll figure that out at the draft next month.
Yeah, I think Miller's probably the leader in the clubhouse. But, the reality is, listen, the draft, just said earlier, I mean, obviously Jacksonville doesn't have first-round pick because of the Travis Hunter deal. The draft is a really, really interesting process this year from the standpoint of talking to a lot of people around the league. Like, there's this thought, it feels like in the headlines of the media, that it's not a good draft. That is not the impression I've gotten talking to a lot of, really, like, getting an idea from people down in Indianapolis, scouting combine. I'm going to be at the owners' meetings this upcoming weekend. Sure, I'll talk to plenty of people there about it as well. But it feels like this is a draft that a lot of people are actually pretty high on. It's just that the quarterback class isn't good, and that's kind of what drives the narrative of whether it's a good class or not. There are a lot of guys who I think Jacksonville can look at second, third round at linebacker and feel pretty good about. And that doesn't mean they got to come in and start right away. They may start out special teamers, rotational defensive players, but there are guys that you look at and go, okay, there's depth there. Look, you're not going to obviously get the Sonny Styles of the world. I mean, those guys are going to be gone in the top 10, but I think there are absolutely guys for Gladstone come the second round, come the third round at off-ball linebacker that you go, yeah, you know what, I can get that guy, because it's not a premium position. If you're drafting 50th and you want a corner, you're probably getting the 8th or 9th best corner. You're drafting off-ball linebacker, around 50. You're probably getting like the 4th best guy, 3rd best guy. So it's a position that is able to be filled later on because it's not going to be overdrafted as some positions will be.
Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated. It's a great point. And look, I've heard, Anthony Hill of Texas, Jacob Rodriguez of Texas Tech, potentially as guys the Jaguars may look at. When you look at ETN, we thought running back maybe in round 3, and then they go out and bring in Chris Rodriguez out of Washington. Now, look, I'm not saying Chris Rodriguez is going to the Pro Bowl next year, but he did average 4.5 yards a carry in Washington. He only carried the ball just over 100 times. He had 500 yards rushing. And talking to people up there, Matt, they're a little puzzled as to why Cliff Kingsbury didn't give him the ball a little bit more in 2025.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. They had Krosky Merritt, who they really like in Washington. He did a really nice job. But Rodriguez, look, he's a guy who, again, we talked about earlier, right? I think Tootin's going to get the main job, but Rodriguez is somebody who can come in and give you some quality snaps, who can carry the ball. He's a young guy. He's only 25 years old. He rushed for 4.5 yards a carry last year. He had 6 touchdowns. He's never proven to be a receiver. He has 6 catches in 3 years. I mean, they've never used him in that way. But when he's had the opportunity, if you look at his 3 years, now granted, we're talking 198 carries over 3 years, but he's yards per attempt, 4.8, 4.9, 4.5. I mean, that's a guy who has consistently shown that he can pick up yardage. And so, look, I think it was a smart move to pick up Rodriguez, too, in this sense. I do believe the draft is better than people think it is. The running back class is not. Okay, I mean, the running back class, Love is going to be a top, whatever he is, 8 pick. And then Jadarian Price is going to, also out of Notre Dame, is probably going to be a top 50 pick. After that, you might not have another guy picked in the top 100. I mean, it is just not. Emmett Johnson from Nebraska is maybe in the top 100. He's like right on that cusp, probably. But, I think there's a reason you saw in free agency Kenneth Walker go immediately, Travis Etienne go very quickly. Dobbins went back to Denver. We saw teams, very, very early on. Gainwell got signed quickly. Dowdle replaced Gainwell in Pittsburgh. There's a reason for that. And I think it's because teams looked around and went, we better get a running back now. Because if we don't do it now, unless you're getting Jeremiah Love early, everybody else is just a lottery ticket.
Matt Verderame of SI. Final thought on the Jaguars, Matt. We talk about the Jaguars not doing very much in free agency outside of Chris Rodriguez. I think they wanted to bite the bullet this year on all that dead money that Trent Baalke left them. And that's what they're doing because they're very much aware Anton Harrison, Parker Washington, Brenton Strange, right? Antonio Johnson, Trayvon Walker. I mean, all of those guys technically could be free agents. March of next year. Now, they'll pick up Harrison's fifth-year option, more than likely, but the other four guys will hit free agency unless they're re-signed. So I think Gladstone wanted to bite the bullet now so he has money next offseason.
Yeah, I think you're right. I've written about this actually fairly recently over at SI, where, look, Jacksonville's got a lot of extension candidates. And you'll get a guy like Strange, tight end market, guys getting paid. I mean, Strange had a really good year last year. He backs it up this year, he's going to get paid. Parker Washington was a guy who really broke out last year. Everybody knew they were paying attention. Like, hey, look, he's an interesting guy as a receiver. He's a good returner. Last year, he became a really nice piece as a receiver. Obviously, Trayvon Walker, listen, if you're even a good edge rusher these days, you're going to get paid a lot of money. You know, I mean, he's very, very much in play to be a guy getting over $100 million if he has a big year this year. So, yeah, they're going to have to pay guys. And, you know, Balky, I mean, the way they handled the contracts while he was there, it wasn't exactly leaving them in an economic situation that they were thrilled with. And I think part of it, too, is Jacksonville last year, I think a lot of people, including myself, thought they'd be better. They were ahead of schedule last year. They went out, they won the division. They played the Bills to the wire in the playoffs. Like, now this year is tougher from the standpoint of it's easier because you have Cohen and the coaching staff second year in a row. It's tougher because now, you know, it's first place schedule. It's a division that I think has gotten better. I mean, Houston's still good. Tennessee's better. Indianapolis is pretty much the same. But it's also going to be, look, you couldn't add a ton. There's not a first-round pick. You're not going to go out and spend a lot of free agency. This is going to have to be improvement from within. This is going to have to be guys already on the roster improving in a way like Parker Washington did a year ago, where they make that jump. That's where the improvement's got to be found in Jacksonville next year.
The Jaguars, 21 draft picks over the next two drafts, 11 this year and already 10 in 2027. Matt, you mentioned the AFC South. Let's quickly go there. A lot of movement. Indianapolis paid their own guys, although Indianapolis did let a lot of starters walk. Tennessee brought in everybody. And Houston, look, I really like Wyatt Teller, a kind of thing that went under the radar. David Montgomery as well. What do you make of what the AFC South has done around Jacksonville this offseason?
So look, Tennessee is I mean, they did bring in everybody, right? I mean, John Franklin Myers, Alontae Taylor, Wan'Dale Robinson. Tennessee, I think two things can be true at the same time. Tennessee got better, but Tennessee's not good. Like, the only way Tennessee's good this year is if Ward just has an absolute breakout year and Dable unlocks him. I think Robert Saleh can coach. Like, I'm not going to hold it against anyone on earth that they didn't succeed with the Jets. I understand that that's part of the deal. But they're not going to compete, in my opinion, yet for anything significant. I think they might be a 6-7 win team, which is better, which is going to be competitive. I think that's what they are. Houston, I agree with you with Teller. Look, Montgomery's fine. The big question with Houston is the same question it's been for 2.5 years now. What is CJ Stroud? What is he? Like, he was abysmal in those playoff games. Absolutely. You couldn't play any worse than he did. And you just wonder with that offense, like, other than Collins, who scares you? Can anyone do anything? I don't know. Indianapolis, but I should say, I still think Houston is a good team because that defense is awesome, and I think Ryan's can really coach. So I still think they're a playoff team. Indianapolis, I do not like what they did. I am out on what the Colts have done over the last 8 months or so. They trade 2 first-round picks to get Sauce Gardner, who I think is a very good player. I don't think he's a great player. They now have a big contract with him. They paid Daniel Jones a fortune coming off of a torn Achilles. When, let's be honest, Daniel Jones was really, really good for like the first 2 months of the season. Was not great for the last month and a half before he got hurt. You've got Nelson, who's up for free agency after this year. Same thing with Jonathan Taylor. You trade away Pittman to pay Pierce. I think Pittman's a better player than Pierce. They pay him a fortune. I don't like the. I would not be surprised if Tennessee's fighting the Colts for third place in that division. I just don't think, unless you're a real big believer that Daniel Jones is just the answer moving forward, which I'm not. I don't think Indianapolis is good. Like, I almost wonder if this offseason's a thing that we can look back and go, that's what got Chris Ballard fired. Like, I just don't like what they did.
Yeah, I mean, they trade Zaire Franklin. They let Braden Smith walk. Kwity Paye's gone. You mentioned Michael Pittman Jr. They certainly lost a lot of that foundation, no question. Quickly, because I want to ask you about your St. John's team that's still alive, unlike the Florida Gators in the NCAA tournament. The NFL free agency period, what team won it?
Now, the Monahan's golden moment. Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach, your local streaming live from the XL Digital Studios. Polished by Harbor Dental Care, the locally owned smile restoration experts.
Jimerson Burr is a full-service, Florida-based commercial law firm that has experience and capabilities to handle any legal issue a business is confronted with. Learn more about what they can do for you at jimersonfirm.com.
David Garrard here, and once again, I'm reporting good news about how good my knees are doing following PRP treatment at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. For an old quarterback like me, my knees are in great shape.
You don't have to be a celebrity or a professional athlete to appreciate the everyday personal attention you'll receive at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. For any orthopedic need, call on the pros at SOS.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Credit card interest rates are now over 29%. Most people are only making the minimum payments, so they're getting nowhere. Hey, Prosser here, but here's what many homeowners don't realize. Using the equity in your home, you can easily access hundreds of thousands in cash. With Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan, you can pay off your credit cards, your existing HELOC, your car loans, or get money for that home improvement project. One client just got $100,000 approved and saved over $1,500 a month. Here's the best part. With Loan Pronto, you can do it all from your phone. With zero out-of-pocket, no hard credit pull up front, no appraisal, no long drawn-out bank process, and no touching your first mortgage. Rates are at a near 3-year low. Act now. Go to loanpronto.com. See how much you can get in about 60 seconds. Loan Pronto, 2,800 5-star Google reviews. Call 904-999-1508 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
MyGate Rewards members, this deal is just for you. Right now, grab any 2 12-ounce Red Bulls and get 2 of your favorite roller grill items for just $1. When you need a boost, Gates got you. See store for details.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey, ham, melted cheddar, and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I used to dread going to the dentist. Every visit felt like a sales pitch with constant upselling, surprise fees on my bill, and I could never get in when I needed to. But Harbor Dental Care? Totally different. They saw me the next day, gave me honest pricing up front, and even set me up with a payment plan I could actually afford. No pressure, no surprise charges, just kind people who get it. If you want to experience dentistry the way it should be, book your appointment today at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
When it comes to glass, you don't want average. You want flawless. Duval Glass and Mirror has transformed homes and businesses across Jacksonville for over 35 years. Frameless showers that wow. Mirrors cut exactly to your style. Fogged or broken glass replaced. Decorative tabletops. Windows replaced or repaired to stand up to Florida storms. All backed by a 100% guarantee. Visit DuvalGlass.com for your free quote. There's only one name for glass and mirror around these parts. It's Duval!
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. In for Blue. Glad you're with us till 8 o'clock. Hacker After Dark, before dark on a Thursday here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Thank you to Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated. More on the National Football League coming up in, really in about the next 10 minutes or so. But Tyler Forness, A2ZSports.com, one of their main NFL draft guys, will join us coming up towards the top of the 7 o'clock hour. I believe, Aaron, we're also going to check in with ET, right, out of the Clay County Fair and the festivities going on out there in the 7 o'clock hour.
Yeah, we're going to hear from ET. I'm trying to see when's the best time to get a hold of him because, you know, he's out there socializing with all the people and everything.
ET's a busy man. ET's a man of the people. There is no doubt about that. And I'm sure the festivities are going on, and it is a very festive time out there at the Clay County Fair. You know, we've been so caught up in the NCAA tournament, right? And in free agency, and we've been talking draft, and we'll continue to do that. 3 weeks from tonight is the NFL draft. That you look on the calendar, and all of a sudden, the Orange and Blue game is a week from Saturday. The first spring of head coach John Summerall and the Gators is going to wrap up with a spring game. And what a novel concept that is, because there's still an Orange and Blue game. There is no longer a Garnet and Gold game, as Florida State, I believe now for the second year in a row, has chosen to not play a spring game, which is an interesting way to go about things. But we haven't really spent a lot of time, or at least I haven't, on Hacker After Dark in talking about some of the big storylines coming out of Gainesville and certainly Tallahassee. You know, the thought in Gainesville about the Gators is, look, there's obviously a ton of new, right? New coaching staff, new head coach, new quarterback, we think. More on that in a moment. An overhauled roster. But there is a lot of guys that have played a lot of football for Florida, whether it's Jaden Baugh, right? Coming into his junior year. You get the retention of Dallas Wilson and Vernell Brown, Jaden Woods, Miles Graham. I mean, the Gators and John Summerall did a pretty good job in the portal to not only bring guys into the roster, but and to retain guys as well. And I think most of us, myself included, probably thought when the spring started that Aaron Philo, the quarterback transfer from Georgia Tech, who came in with new offensive coordinator Buster Faulkner, was probably the leader in the clubhouse to get that job. And he still very well may be. You know, we might get to late August, early September, and the Gators are kicking it off in the swamp, and it's Aaron Philo's job. That still might happen. Probably is considered to be the more realistic thing to happen. But I do think in talking to people down there, talking to people that have seen a few practices, talking to people that have talked to people around the program, I guess is a great way to put it, that Tramel Jones, the young man from Mandarin, who I'm a big fan of, has made it more of a competition, at least in the spring, than many would have thought. Right? I think it was trendy to say, well, yeah, Tramel Jones is the guy coming back, the guy that played a little bit when DJ Lagway was pulled last year. And yeah, he'll get a look, but Buster Faulkner is going to want to play his guy, and his guy's Aaron Philo. That was the narrative, I think, coming in to spring drills for the Gators. And I'm not saying that's not going to happen. In fact, like I said, I would still bet that Philo will be the opening day starter at quarterback, barring injury or anything along those lines. I just think Tramel Jones, from what I've heard, I won't say complicated it a little bit for the staff, but I do think some of the things Tramel Jones has done this spring have opened some eyes down in Gainesville. So we'll see if there is a full-blown quarterback competition into the summer months, and obviously when fall camp opens up on August 1st, I guess, or roughly around there, about a month before the season. But as far as the Gators go, look, I mean, you got great weapons on offense with Jaden Baugh, Vernell Brown, Dallas Wilson, Eric Singleton, the young man from Georgia Tech, played last year at Auburn, was a projected second or third round pick in the NFL draft, but decided to forego that to come back to college and come back to play for Buster Faulkner, his offensive coordinator in Atlanta, now in Gainesville. So a three-headed monster at wide receiver. Talk about Jaden Baugh, obviously. And one of the things that I really like that Florida has done, with the exception of the running back room, so you're talking wide receiver, tight end, quarterback, and offensive line, all four of those position rooms have former Georgia Tech players in them that transferred into Florida. And you say, well, Hacker, why do you care about former Georgia Tech players? Well, because they all played for Buster Faulkner. They all know Buster Faulkner's system. You got a couple of offensive linemen, you got a tight end, you got a wide receiver, you obviously have a quarterback that all know the terminology, all know what Faulkner did in Atlanta, and can bring that knowledge with them to Gainesville to help their teammates and the transition a little bit, which is something that I really like. I mean, you go from Billy Napier calling plays to Buster Faulkner calling plays. I mean, that could be the equivalent of me teaching a chemistry class and then Einstein coming in teaching a chemistry class. It's going to be a little bit different, probably more in a positive way. All due respect to Billy Napier, but I think there's not a lot of love lost with Gator fans about Billy's play calling at the University of Florida. I think people were much more excited about Buster Faulkner. Quickly to Tallahassee. I started the show tonight talking about how quiet an offseason it's been for the Jaguars. For the first time in years and years and years, the Jaguars aren't bringing in a ton of free agents, and the Jaguars aren't having to bring in a ton of new coaches, and it's been relatively quiet on the Jaguar front. And I want to take that and go to Tallahassee. Now, if you're a diehard bleed garnet and gold message board, social media, live and die with all Florida State breaking news type of person, well, then maybe it's been a little more active for you. But if you're everyday college football fan that listens to 1010XL on your way to work or on your way home, and even if you consider yourself a Florida State fan or, certainly anybody else, Florida, Miami, Georgia, etc., you like to think you know a little something about college football. Boy, we haven't heard much out of Tallahassee, right? I mean, it's been crickets over in Tallahassee. Gus Malzahn retiring, right, was a big story, I guess, about a month and a half ago now. Mike Norvell going to reassume the play calling duties. Certainly that made some news, but just not a lot of stuff coming out of Florida State. The only stuff that you hear about is them not playing a spring game, which, again, I think is ridiculous. Them canceling some of the speaking tours for Mike Norvell, which, again, is interesting. Well, if you're a Florida State fan, and it's only April 2nd, I mean, we're 4.5 months away from that huge ball game there at Doak Campbell between New Mexico State and Florida State to open up the year. It's an enormous game there at Doak Campbell. It's one of the games you actually might win, so I kid because I care. But, I mean, are you excited about this upcoming season for Florida State? I'll tell you what would be an absolute football disaster, a football nightmare for the Noles. You look at that schedule. It's not easy. You go to Alabama, you think they're going to be fired up to see you after what happened last year? You obviously play Clemson, you play Miami, you play Florida, what should be an improved Florida team. North Carolina State, Virginia, SMU, Pitt. I mean, it's a tough schedule. And if you look at it, it's not the easiest start to the year. And if you're Florida State and you go 2-4, 2-5 out of the gate, and people have lost interest, and, there's one thing to be mad about your team. There's another thing to be apathetic about your team, to not care anymore. And my concern for Florida State fan is if you're 2-4, 2-5, I get the sense the anger wouldn't even be there anymore. You would just be apathetic because you wanted Mike Norvell gone anyway last year. They chose not to do that. Maybe for financial reasons and the buyout. Who knows? Whatever the reasoning was, they kept him. But if they start 2-4, 2-5, well, at that point, their hand's going to be forced. And if you fire Norvell 7 or 8 games into the season, well, then what an absolute waste. Why would you do it then when you could have done it after the 25 campaign? So Florida State has kind of backed themselves in between a rock and a hard place here. Now, if they come out swinging and they overachieve and you look at it and they're 4-1 or 5-0 and they're ranked in the top 20 in America and they rekindle that magic that they had at 13-0 a few years ago, well, then obviously the narrative at that point would drastically change. But raise your hand if you're a Florida State fan if you think that's going to happen. I certainly don't with that schedule. I mean, I'm concerned you're going to lose to SMU out of the gate, and then that's going to set up all sorts of problems when you see Miami and Clemson and Alabama and NC State and Virginia and Pitt and Florida. I mean, it's a tough schedule for the Noles. And I'll be perfectly frank with you. I'm usually hacker, but on this case, I'll be perfectly frank with you. I would be pretty surprised if Mike Norvell is the coach of the Florida State Seminoles on April 2nd, 2027. At some point, you got to bite the bullet with that buyout, and you got to do something about this program. I mean, the Florida State Seminoles haven't won a road game in 2 years. 2 years, guys. And they also haven't been to a bowl game in 2 years. 6 and 6 teams go to bowl games. The Seminoles haven't been to one in 2 years. That is unacceptable. It's already unacceptable. Changes should have already been made. For whatever reason, they were not, probably financial reasons. And you look at the schedule, you look at the lack of, excitement among a very dedicated, diehard fan base. It's just not exactly on the surface anyway. Good times for Florida State heading into the 2026 season. But hey, at least you have a spring football to look forward to, right? A spring game to, oh, no, you don't. No Garnet and Gold game. No spring tours.
Rough.
It's preposterous. It's ridiculous. If I'm a Seminole fan, I'd be ticked. But I think they're well past ticked. At least now you're still mad, right? At least if you're a Florida State fan, you're now at least still mad. Again, my concern for you is at 2-5 or whatever it starts out to be, worst case scenario, you go from being mad to not caring. And what does not caring mean? Well, stop going to the games. You just become apathetic. And at that point, it's a done deal. Norvell will be gone, and you'll have to start over again. Just like Florida had to do, by the way. Florida's not much better. They've had to start over time after time after time. John Summerall, though, other than his name not being Lane Kiffin, outside of his name not being Lane Kiffin, if you're a Gator fan, can you not be more pleased with Summerall 3 months into the job, 3.5 months into the job? Saying all the right things at press conferences, doing well in the portal. The Gators are in the mix for these 4- and 5-star guys. Are they going to get them? I don't know, but they're in the mix. John Summerall's biggest flaw is his name wasn't Lane Kiffin when he was hired. Outside of that, now we'll find out wins and losses in September. Things can change drastically once the games start. But all we can go on is what Summerall has done in 3.5 months. And if you're a Gator fan, other than his name not being Lane Kiffin, I don't know how you can't be a little bit excited out of what you've seen from your new head coach 90-plus days in on the job. More from the world of college football coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. Back into the National Football League. The draft 3 weeks from today up in Pittsburgh. We're about 15 minutes or so away from Tyler Forness of A to Z Sports.com, one of their main NFL draft analysts. We're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark, in for Blue, till 8 o'clock, right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
There's an energy and drama to play-by-play sports.
This crowd, a big factor.
You never know what's going to happen.
Wow!
Feel the energy on 1010XL, Jacksonville Sports Radio.
Jumbo Shrimp Baseball is home at VyStar Ballpark this week and weekend. Join us tonight for Coors Light Thirsty Thursday, fireworks tomorrow and Saturday, plus Southpaw onesie giveaway on Saturday, presented by Miller Electric and Hyatt Regency Jacksonville Riverfront. Catch on the field before Sunday Family Fun Day. Tickets start at just $5. JackShrimp.com for tickets. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball, affordable, family, fun.
Been in a car crash? I'm local attorney Rick Alexander, and I've made it our mission at the Alexander Law Practice to listen to you so I can fight for the best possible result for you. I've been practicing over 30 years, and our team focuses on guiding you through the entire process. And because fees and reimbursement costs come out at the end of the case, I will never ask you to come out of pocket. For a free review, call 904-400-6600 or log on to alexanderlawpractice.com, Jacksonville.
Ever have one of those mornings when you're trying to piece together the night before? Yeah, we've all been there. Now imagine that morning turned into a comedy. Morning After Grace is on stage starting April 9th at the Alhambra Theater and Dining. And it's smart, funny, and totally relatable. A night out that's equal parts laughs and insight. Get your tickets at alhambrajax.com. Alhambra Theater and Dining. Great food, great laughs, and a show you won't forget.
Explore the mind of a quarterback with our QB guru.
We want to take you into the lab so you can learn more about the science of quarterbacking.
Denny Thompson is the Quarterback Whisperer, driven by George Moore Chevrolet. Friday mornings on The Drill on 1010XL.
New home, same great golf. This year's Coastal Equipment Guggen Open tees off at the Golf Club of Southampton, Monday, April 27th. Score a hole-in-one to win a Kubota RTV 520 utility vehicle from Coastal Equipment. Edwin Watts Golf has great proximity prizes. For a chance for you and a partner to play, text Guggen to the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures at 641-1010. Thanks to our sponsors, CSS Outdoor, the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Union 234, and Royal Pest Control.
At G&H Tires and Service, the G stands for great pricing. The H, well, that means honest service. For over 20 years, Roger and his team have helped Jacksonville drivers stay safe on the road. Need brakes, oil change, AC not blowing cold? Well, how about a super affordable $36 oil change? Affordable brake jobs, AC checks before summer hits, alignments for all these construction roads, and even free check engine light inspections. Locally owned, community driven. G&H Tires and Service on Beach Boulevard.
What if the next roof you put on your home was the last one? Not another replacement in 15 or 20 years, the last roof. Metlock Roofing is Florida's only manufacturer and installer of this exclusive roofing system. Engineered for strength, built for Florida weather, backed by a lifetime warranty. Imagine never needing another roof. Call 938-9933 or visit metlokroofing.com. Get your last roof today with Metlock. License number CCC 1335581.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Approaching halftime, Hacker After Dark in for Baloo tonight. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 8 o'clock here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. Back into the National Football League, primarily back into the NFL Draft in just a moment. Again, 3 weeks from tonight. Round number 1. Will the Jaguars be participating in that? Well, as it stands right now, no. But they do have 11 picks overall, 4 on day 2 on Friday. Could they potentially use some of those picks to trade in to round number 1 3 weeks away up in Pittsburgh, April 23rd, 24th, and 25th? We are not 3 weeks away from the Clay County Fair. The festivities are well underway, and our guy E.T., you hear him every morning with The Drill. You hear him all over the 1010XL airwaves. E.T. live at the Clay County Fair this evening with us here on Hacker After Dark. E.T., how you doing, man?
Hack, what's happening, my boy? How you doing, man? Feels good to holler at my boy Hack. What's happening?
Hey, buddy, I'm good. Good to hear from you. Tell us about the Clay County Fair. Now, I've been out there in years past. It is always a festive time, and I imagine this year is no different.
Hack, actually, this year is even different. It's better. I grew up coming to the fair, Hacker. I'm from this area in Green Cove Springs, and the Clay County Fair has always been a staple. But I set my foot in the fairgrounds this year in Hacker. It's bigger and it's better. All type of new stuff that I've never seen, and it's just good to see here at the Clay County Fair.
Well, give us a lay of the land. What are some of the new things that are going on, some of the more popular things? I know Mike Dempsey from Jaguars Today is actually emceeing the corn dog eating contest out there tomorrow at the Clay County Fair, so that'll certainly be a sight. But what's kind of going on out there tonight on a Thursday, E.T.?
I'm glad you mentioned Mike MC and the corn dog competition tomorrow, because I'm actually sitting right across from a corn dog stand, and them corn dogs looking delicious. So whoever's in that contest tomorrow, I'm trying to be in that. Well, I'm sitting right across from a basketball stand, and you know I like to get my jumper on. And with this basketball stand, they're actually giving away jerseys. I see this Luka jersey they got my name all over, and there's a Kobe Bryant jersey also.
Wow.
So make a couple of shots, you can win you some jerseys. There's a stand. It's called the Swag Wagon. That's also new, where you can just go buy jerseys. There's jerseys. I see some Jordans. I see a Sean Taylor jersey. There's all kind of new things here, and also you can't forget the kids, man. There's all type of new rides for the children.
Yeah, Little Hack loves fairs. Absolutely loves them. We've took him out of the Clay County Fair, I believe, 2 years ago. He had a terrific time. All right, as we begin to wrap up with you, festivities well underway. The Clay County Fair, E.T. and the folks from 1010XL are out there tonight. As we mentioned, Mike Dempsey will be emceeing the corn dog eating contest out at the Clay County Fair tomorrow. E, what's some of the more interesting foods that we have out there at the Clay County Fair this year? What are some of the things that you've seen that you kind of look at and go, I wonder what that tastes like?
Man, Hacker, I ain't gonna lie. I don't even be looking at that stuff because I ain't gonna try it. If it's crazy, I'm not trying. I keep it simple, man. I like the fried Oreos, the turkey legs, and the funnel cake.
E, I love it. I love it. The Clay County Fair. Now, you're out there this evening for 1010XL. Again, Mike will be out there tomorrow. It's going to be a great, great time. E, since you live over there, for people that don't know, I imagine they probably do, just a real quick synopsis, easiest way to kind of get to the Clay County Fair where it's located.
Easiest way to get to the fair, take Highway 17 south all the way down to Green Cove. You'll bang a right on Highway 16 and it'll take you right there. Just follow that road all the way down. That's the easiest way to do it.
Perfect, perfect. Well, E, enjoy yourself out there at the Clay County Fair, and we'll listen to you tomorrow on The Drill here on 1010XL. Thank you, my friend.
Oh, man, appreciate you for having me, my boy. I'm going to go get my steps on and go get me these fried Oreos.
Nice. Love some fried Oreos. E.T. out at the Clay County Fair. Aaron, I love the fair. Absolutely love it. And we got really good fairs all over the area here, obviously, with the county fairs. But the Clay County Fair does it right. They always have some really awesome concerts out there. They have a lot of space out there, the rides, the food, the festivities. It's hard to beat a good fair. Now that I'm a dad, Little Hack absolutely eats those things up. We always try to make it out there every single year.
Yeah, the kids love it. You can get good exercise and walking around seeing all the different types of things. And, you can't go wrong with fair food. It's always the best. But it's always a good time around this year when the Clay County Fair comes around.
So if you're out at the Clay County Fair, holler at ET. He'll be out there for the rest of the evening with us here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Back into the NFL draft. As I mentioned, 3 weeks from tonight, and you look at the Jaguar roster, and we got to go quick here. Tyler Forness, A2ZSports.com, standing by in less than 10 minutes. But as you look at the Jaguar roster real quick, on offense, they lost De'Ami Brown, which isn't much of a loss, no offense to him. They cut Johnny Munt, okay. Tim Patrick, all right, we'll see. And then the big one's ETN. That's the biggest loss. Aside from that, the offense is the offense, right? I mean, Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers, BTJ, Brenton Strange, Bashal Tootin, LaQuinn Allen Jr., Anton Harrison, Patrick McCarry, Ezra Cleveland, Robert Hainsey, Cole Van Lannon, Walker Little, Wyatt Milam. I mean, you go on down the line, all of the guys on offense are back under contract. They're going to be here. Defensively is where you have some vacancies, right? Devin Lloyd gone, Dewey Wingard gone, Greg Newsome gone. As it stands right now, Emmanuel Ogbah gone, DeJuan Smoot is gone, Austin Johnson is gone. There are more issues on defense roster-wise than there are on offense. And from that standpoint, that's why I want to focus on this defensive class. I want to talk interior D-line. I want to talk linebackers. I want to talk secondary. And not the guys that are going to be drafted in the first round. Well, from a Jacksonville perspective, who cares? The Jaguars can't draft those guys anyway. First pick, what Jaguars have is pick 56. So I want to realistically look at some options that the Jaguars may have in round 2, and certainly with those 3 picks in round number 3. Tyler Forness does a terrific job covering the draft for A2ZSports.com, and he joins us next on a Thursday night here in Northeast Florida. Jacksonville, we're with you till 8 o'clock. We're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
Another classic moment in Jags history.
It starts with a great play by Tony Brackett. He knows he's too far upfield to sack Dan Marino, so he's going to take a swipe at the football. Big time play here by Tony Brackett.
1010XL.
DivorceMenOnly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to DivorceMenOnly.com. DivorceMenOnly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
Yo, E.T. here. And you know that on the field, preparation wins championships, right? Well, the same goes for your health. Right here in my side of town in Fleming Island, Encore Research Group is helping locals take charge through cutting-edge research studies. Everything from weight loss to diabetes and hypertension. Their team of local, multi-specialty doctors is focused on advancing medicine and keeping our community healthy. If you want to see if you qualify, check them out at EncoreDocs.com.
Don't miss the Bari Breakdown with Dr. George Bari on XL Primetime, Wednesdays around 1:35 for the latest in sports injuries from all the big names in the game. Who's MIA, who's coming back? Dr. George Bari on XL Primetime, Wednesdays at 1:35 on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Looking for golf that doesn't feel like golf? Welcome to Pine Royale, Callahan's new golf entertainment destination. Play a 9-hole par 3 course, compete in TrackMan-powered driving bays, and get ready for all-new 18-hole mini golf coming soon. As the sun goes down, the course lights up. Add in great food, a full bar, and space to hang with the whole crew, and suddenly golf feels a whole lot more social. Search Pine Royale Callahan and come play today.
Hey, poker fans, don't miss out on the exciting $500 no-limit hold'em tournament at Best Bet Jacksonville, April 10th through the 12th, with a $100,000 guaranteed prize pool. If you want another chance at big money that weekend, don't miss our second chance $300 tournament with a $30,000 guarantee starting at 2 p.m. on Sunday, April 12th. See all the details at bestbetjacks.com. That's bestbetjacks.com.
Home of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Hey, David again with Royal Pest Services. Termites, chinch bugs, roaches. It's their time of year to shine. Preventative maintenance is a heck of a lot cheaper than treating an active infestation. Visit RoyalPestServices.com to schedule your free estimate.
Did you know that an annual coating inspection can extend the life of your building by years? Catching early signs like hairline cracks, fading, and moisture intrusion helps prevent costly repairs down the road and keeps your property looking its best. Our team at Performance Painting helps you stay ahead of maintenance with professional inspections and long-lasting coating solutions. Protect your building, protect your budget. Go to performance-painting.com to schedule a free inspection. Performance Painting, repair, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting! Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too, from Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, roll and lock bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality products and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin. Who can you count on? Count on Catlin. For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
Spring is here. Is your yard ready? Lucas Tree Service, a family-owned business with over 45 years of experience, is Jacksonville's certified arborist for safe tree removal, trimming, and stump grinding for homes and businesses. Protect your property, boost your curb appeal, and enjoy expert service you can trust. Keep your trees healthy and safe before summer arrives. Schedule your inspection today at lucastreeservice.com.
Mark Watson here to tell you a little bit about HardballCreative.com. It's your online promo haven with thousands of ideas on how to promote your company. We're open 24/7, 365.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. Here's another call on the 1010XL hotline, driven by Key Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are glad you are with us. We're now well inside a month away from the NFL Draft up in Pittsburgh, April 23rd, 24th, and 25th. The Jaguars, for the first time in franchise history, do not have a first-round pick as a result of the Travis Hunter trade last year, but what they do have are 11 draft picks total, including 4 in the top 100. Let's talk about this draft class and what the Jaguars may, or in some cases may not do next month up in Pittsburgh with Tyler Forness, A2ZSports.com. Tyler's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Tyler, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Hey, Tyler, we're good, man. Thank you so much for the time. All right, you and I haven't spoke since the season ended, so I'm just curious, before we really dive into the draft, broad overview. You know, Liam Cohen, James Gladstone, year one. On the surface, Tyler, you go from 4 wins to 13 wins. It's kind of self-explanatory, I guess. But what was your overall take on what Jacksonville accomplished last year?
I think if you're a Jacksonville fan, you got to be pretty happy with the direction. And as with any new head coach coming in, it's easy to kind of flip the culture real quick and get people to buy in. But the hardest part is going to be sustaining it. And we've seen that across the board. You know, living in Minnesota and covering the Vikings for a living, Kevin O'Connell did the same thing, comes in, wins 13 games year one, and then drops to 7, then wins 14 and drops to 9. It's about like keeping that level of consistency. And with the new GM head coach pairing, if they can do that this year, and if they can win 10, 11, 12 games and win the AFC South once again, I think the fan base should be incredibly excited for what feels like could be a very sustainable model that they're building down in Duval.
No, it's a great point you make. I mean, look no further than the Washington Commanders, 2024. They were 1 game away from the Super Bowl in Dan Quinn's first year. And then in 2025, they couldn't stay healthy, and they end up being one of the league's worst teams. So this league can get to you pretty quick if you cannot sustain that success. And with Jacksonville this offseason, Tyler, it's been a lot of, well, departures instead of arrivals. We'll touch upon Chris Rodriguez in a moment, but certainly losing Travis Etienne and losing Devin Lloyd. What was your take on the Jaguars' free agency period?
You know, it's disappointing to lose a guy like Devin Lloyd, but he's also one of the weirder free agents we've seen in a long time because let's just be honest, he was incredibly inconsistent his first few years with the Jaguars, and then all of a sudden, final year, contract year, plays like an all-pro. Well, if you want to give that guy a long contract extension, what are you going to get? Are you going to get the guy that you had a few years earlier that was inconsistent and, let's just be honest, people are calling him bad? Or are you getting an all-pro? You don't really know 100%, and you can't feel comfortable giving him that kind of contract. So I understand letting him go. It's frustrating, but the good part is for the Jaguars that this is a really nice linebacker class, so you can potentially backfill that position. And Etienne, look, good player, fun player. Obviously, he and Trevor Lawrence have a long sustained history playing at Clemson, and then obviously being drafted in the same first round back in 2020. But it's tough to lose him, but I like the guys that they have in that backfield. And you mentioned Chris Rodriguez. Like, he's going to complement Bashal Tutin really well. Like, I don't love, like, it's not one of those things where the Jaguars offseason was like really exciting, but I think it's setting themselves up really nice for the future.
And they have 11 draft picks next month. Tyler Forness, A2ZSports.com, with us here on 1010XL. Tyler also hosts his own podcast we'll let you know all about in just a moment. You mentioned the loss of Etienne, the arrival of Chris Rodriguez. Rodriguez is interesting, and talking to people in Washington, Tyler, 500 yards last year. He averaged 4.5 yards a carry. He found the end zone 6 times. Yet people will tell you that Cliff Kingsbury just simply did not give him enough opportunities up in Washington. Is the trio of Rodriguez, Tutin, and LeQuint Allen Jr. enough to replace the departure of Travis Etienne?
I think so, but it's going to look a heck of a lot different. And one of the interesting things about kind of how the running back position has evolved over the course of my lifetime, the last 36 years, you went from, you have to have that bell count. Guys were going 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th overall constantly because you wanted to find that alpha in the room. They don't make Adrian Petersons anymore. That guy just isn't there. It's a different style of player, and having a essentially a starting lineup of the basketball team in your running back room is something that needs to be a priority for all teams moving forward. It's great to have a Bijan Robinson, but you got to have other guys to be able to complement him, because if that guy gets hurt, which is very common at the position, you have to be able to have some sustainability. And I like the fact that you have 3 backs who all can do a little bit of different things, but they're all well-rounded enough to where you can feel comfortable at least having them in a position, like in any situation on the field. I love LaQuint Allen as that pass catching back. I also think he can be a little more of a 15 to 20 carry back in the future. Rodriguez is obviously more of a bigger back, and he's already shown the ability to do that. And you mentioned him not getting enough opportunities with Cliff Kingsbury. That felt like the situation for all of those backs in Washington last year. And then Tootin. If Tootin's big thing is he just needs to be able to hold on to the football. If he can hold on to the football, he can do anything you ask of him. So it's going to be more of a committee approach. And quite frankly, that's probably your best case scenario. Not great for fantasy football, but the Jaguars aren't trying to win a fantasy title. They're trying to win a Super Bowl. And having 3 guys who can kind of balance each other out and keep the wear and tear down is probably going to help them come January rather than hurt them.
Couple of more for Tyler Forness, A to Z Sports.com. Tyler, similar question with Devin Lloyd's departure. Now, on the roster right now, you got Ventrell Miller, Jack Kaiser, and a guy that James Gladstone keeps talking about in Branson Combs, who was undrafted out of Wake Forest last year. And I've also been told this might be one of the best linebacker classes in quite some time. Is the Devin Lloyd replacement currently on the roster, or do the Jaguars need to find that guy next month in the draft?
I think they need to find that guy next month in the draft. But the one thing that worries me about the history of James Gladstone is when he worked under Les Snead, Snead didn't care about the linebacker position, and he still doesn't. They just have Jags. I mean, not Jaguars, just another guy. They just have replacement level players at the position, and they focus heavily on the interior of that defensive line and in the secondary, and they don't care about linebacker. I'm worried that Gladstone is going to be the same way because of that rapport that he built and learning from Les Snead. I hope he doesn't go that direction, because I think the best defenses in the NFL have really good linebacker play, and it's much more of a premium style position than people want to lead on, especially in modern defenses when you have to be a pass rusher. You have to be good in man and zone coverage, and you have to be really spatially aware and run with like tight ends who can run a 4-5 while also being able to shed a block against an offensive lineman. It's a very crucial position, and I hope that they make it a major priority. I think in round 2, you get a guy like Josiah Trotter, who's more of a modern version of his dad, Jeremiah Trotter, was. Because remember, he was like that 265-pound linebacker with shoulder pads the size of me. Like, that's the kind of player I hope the Jaguars target. Will they? We'll find out. But I think linebacker needs to be a major priority for them, and they can potentially get a day 1 starter on day 2.
You know, you look at the draft class as a whole with Jacksonville, 11 picks total, including 4 in the top 100. Look, they don't have a first-round pick. It is what it is. But I've been told by a lot of people that cover the draft, and I'm curious your opinion, you know, day 2 is not the worst spot to be in to have 4 selections this year. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. This class isn't necessarily bad. It's not high-end. If you're drafting in the top 10, this is one of the worst years to draft in the top 10 because there really aren't those blue chip players. Next year, there's projected to be like 5 to 10 blue chip players, including some high-end quarterbacks. We don't have that this year. What we have is a draft that's going to help you build depth. The Jaguars could end up with 4 starters on day 2. And they may not start right away, but by the end of their rookie contract, all 4 of those guys could be serious contributors. So if there was a year to not have a first-round pick, it's this one. And you can build really solid teams. You take a look at the Seattle Seahawks this past year. They had like 7 day 2 starters on that Super Bowl winning team over the last 4 years. That's how you build your roster. That is how you build a really talented team. You have to nail those guys on day 2. And Jaguars have 4 shots at it. If you hit all 4 of those shots, Like, that's how you build those Super Bowl caliber teams.
Tyler, as we begin to wrap up, we talk about linebacker. That's certainly a need after Devin Lloyd's departure. Clearly, interior defensive line is a need as well. And around these parts, people are hoping that foot injury might get Caleb Banks to slide a little bit. I know Florida State fans are talking about Darrell Jackson to Jacksonville. And basically, almost every mock draft you see, the kid Grayson, is it Holler from Oklahoma? He's another one. Halton, yeah, Grayson Halton is another one that's in the mix. What about interior defensive line for Jacksonville, and what might be there at either 56 or at pick 81?
So this interior defensive line class is, quite frankly, it's underwhelming. You have Caleb Banks and Peter Woods, both of whom at their peaks feel like they could be top 10 picks, but the inconsistencies for Woods over this past year and the injuries that Caleb Banks has suffered, I still haven't been able to confirm if the foot injury he suffered at the combine was the same foot where he had 2 injuries this past year at Florida. So you have to figure out, from our perspective in the media, if that guy is going to be worth a first-round pick, because we don't have all the medical information. If teams deem that he's fine and you're okay with major foot injuries at 6'6", 327, that guy could easily be a top 10 pick because he's a rare mover on the interior. But after that, you got some good run stuffers. Caden McDonald, who probably should go in the second round, who will be bumped up to the first. Dominique Orange is in the same mold, but there aren't a lot of high-end kind of players. You mentioned Grayson Halton. I think he's a really nice gap shooter on the interior, and I think he can complement guys like Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen really well. One guy to really look out for is kind of a small school guy, Southeast Louisiana, Caleb Proctor. He is one of those gap shooters, and he's a high upside athlete that you're probably going to be able to get in like round 4, round 5. And I think that might be the better range to take a shot, just because this class is underwhelming. And I think guys are going to go higher than they should because there just aren't that many of them.
Final moments, Tyler Forness, A2ZSports.com. Along those lines, you look at Jacksonville's roster, Tyler, and it's not rocket science to see that it's probably going to be a pretty heavy defensive class. I would say of their 11 picks, my over-under is probably in the 6.5, 7 range, are going to be on the defensive side of the football. We talked about linebacker. We talked about interior D-line. What about the defensive class as a whole? Can you find some folks in day 2 and day 3 this year?
Yeah, you absolutely can. And I know that the Jags traded Tyson Campbell, got out of that contract, which was probably a smart decision. They took the shot with Greg Newsome. They obviously haven't re-signed him, so it hasn't necessarily worked out the way that they were hoping it could. But this is a very deep cornerback class where if you are in the first round, unless you're getting Mansour Delane or Avion Terrell, you don't need to push it. You can get a starter in round 2, round 3. And safety's kind of the same way. There are some hybrid guys that I'm really high on. I love Traden Stukes from Arizona. He's a fascinating player. You can get quality starters on that day 2 range. So it might actually behoove the Jaguars in order to make a couple investments in the secondary, because you can get them at an inexpensive cost and then just continuing to backfill in multiple other positions. This is a really good draft to build up that defense. So it kind of fits the Jaguars' needs as far as, other than the interior defensive line, obviously, to where they can really make some impacts on that roster.
Tyler, final question. We got 60 seconds, 11 draft picks, and then you take into account as well, I mean, Travis Hunter comes back. He only played 7 games last year. We never even saw Caleb Ransaw, the 3rd-round pick out of Tulane, who missed the season after an injury in the preseason. And Wyatt Milam as well, just played sparingly. So you get your top 3 draft picks back from last year, all with probably something to prove in 2026.
Yeah, and that's one of the really nice things about having injured players, is it almost feels like you're getting an extra asset that you never had. Hunter's, from everything I heard, and I'm sure you've heard the same, he's probably going to play more cornerback this year, which to me is exciting because I think he's a better corner than receiver. And Ransaw is an explosive type player who can be versatile on the back end. Having those guys, plus you backfill and get even more depth in those positions, and you can have some rotation and maybe get Hunter a few more snaps on offense that way. Like, it's going to be an exciting offseason for the Jaguars with everything that they have going on. And you take a look at what the class is offering, which is heavy secondary. Like, I'm excited.
Tyler, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville not only about your work on A2ZSports.com, but also your podcast and where and when they can find it.
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at The Real Forno. I host The Real Forno Show on the Vikings First and Skol podcast feed and YouTube channel where we talk NFL draft and obviously heavy Minnesota Vikings. But I have my Skol Search series where we break down prospects, and that's kind of, I give verbal scouting reports instead of written ones because I find it an easily digestible medium for the people. Go check it out, and it's a really, really fun time to be in NFL media, I got to say.
Hey, we're very thankful for Grant Udinski, by the way. Thank you guys for that.
I want him back. Please send him back.
Yeah, of course, he and Anthony Campanile both returning to Jacksonville for year number 2. Tyler Forness, A2ZSports.com. Tyler, I know you're busy, man. Thank you for the time. We'll talk soon, pal.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
I want to tell you something. Something I've never told anyone.
It's all right.
This is 1010XL.
I'm totally cool with it.
Ready to dance? Right now on Hard Rock Bet, new customers get paid double winnings on your first 10 bets. And we'll keep you dancing all tourney with 2 profit boosts for every day of hoops. That's right. All customers can get a parlay profit boost and a live bet profit boost from now till they cut down the nets. Double winnings, daily dancing boosts, only on Hard Rock Bet.
Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about your gambling? Call or text 1-833-PLAY-WISE.
If you or someone you know are having a special day soon, perhaps the birth of a baby or a big birthday for a senior citizen, Kuhn Flowers will send the perfect arrangement. JJ LaSelva here with 1010XL, and I've personally experienced the magic of a Kuhn Flowers delivery. Log on or call KuhnFlowers.com.
Rookies, free agents, and trade talk.
The ability to see the future and react to it. Now that is what I do.
The off-season is a time to tune up the roster.
I'm all ears.
Follow the road to the regular season with AA Automotive and 1010XL.
I'm with Greg from Cycles in Jacksonville, and Triumph is a known name when it comes to beautiful rides on the road. What is the latest from Triumph?
Well, if you didn't come, we had an unleashing at the dealership last week. We saw 6 new models from Triumph, anything from 400 cc's to 1200 cc's. If you're looking at a bike, you got to look at the new Triumphs.
Experienced riders will love it.
And the inexperienced will love it. We've got something for everybody in the Triumph lineup. Great, great motorcycles.
Showroom waiting for you. Triumph. Find them at Cycles of Jacksonville on Atlantic near Regency.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still, present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. This is Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. And for Blue tonight, thank you to Tyler Forness, A2ZSports.com, for joining us to talk NFL Draft. 3 weeks from tonight up in Pittsburgh. The Jaguars, hard to believe, right? First time in the history of the franchise, they're not scheduled to make a first-round pick, although day 2 will be very active as it stands right now with 4 picks on day 2, 1 in the second round, and 3 selections in round number 3. We will certainly keep the Jaguar draft conversation going, not only tomorrow night, but in the days leading up to the National Football League draft here on Hacker After Dark. You know, we've been so caught up in the Final Four, and we'll talk about that tomorrow in the NCAA tournament that has been culmination this weekend, right? UConn, Illinois in one national semifinal, Michigan, Arizona, and then the 2 winners will play Monday for the national championship. But you look on that calendar, man, the NBA playoffs, we're on the doorstep. And boy, if you're a Magic fan, if you're a Miami Heat fan, yuck. In fact, as it stands right now, the Magic and the Heat would actually play each other in the play-in portion, and it would be a winner or go home scenario. The winner would stay alive, the loser would be eliminated. I guess that would be cool to have Orlando and Miami in a winner go home scenario. But it has been awful. years for Miami. And for Orlando, they have just quite frankly quit on their coach. Their coach isn't any good anyway. Jamal Mosley is going to get fired after the season. But you lose by 52 to Toronto. You lose by 29 last night to Atlanta. You have flat out quit on your coach. And it's quite frankly disgraceful. As an Orlando Magic fan, it really, really fires me up, Aaron, as I'm sure you saw before the show tonight. I had quite a lot to get off my chest when it comes to the Orlando Magic, but I'm a fan. That's what I do, and we will continue the conversation. Let's talk, excuse me, Magic and NBA playoffs with one of my favorites. Trevor Lane is the host of the NBA Front Office Show. Trevor does a terrific job covering the National Basketball Association. I've had him on for years, and he's a very busy man this time of year. Let's talk Magic. Let's talk Heat. Let's talk why both have been such disappointments. And let's look big picture at the NBA playoff picture about 2 weeks away from the NBA postseason. Trevor Lane of the NBA Front Office Show next. We're with you till 8 o'clock, Jacksonville. We're glad you're with us on a Thursday night here in Northeast Florida. It's Hacker After Dark.
Get a Gator baseball chomp on 1010XL.
Baskets are bursting with baseballs. 18th ranked Ole Miss sinks into the swamp for an Easter weekend series. Rebels and Gators, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night on 1010 AM.
Baloo here for Smunez Vision. Why Smunez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smunez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smunez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smunez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmunezVision.com today. Here you can see.
Mike Dempsey. If you're thinking about a bathroom upgrade, maybe turning that old tub into a safer walk-in shower, check out 5 Star Bath Solutions. I shopped around, talked to several companies, and I chose 5 Star because their customer service was simply incredible. Responsive, honest, upfront about the entire project, and their pricing was even better than expected. When you're ready for a fresh look, better comfort, and a bathroom space you'll love using every day, schedule your free consultation at 5starbathsolutions.com and get the 5-star experience.
Jacksonville, get ready. April 6th, the Florida Theater presents Leonid and Friends. This 11-piece band brings the sound of Chicago to life. Horns, vocals, all the energy. Hear favorites from Chicago, Earth, Wind and Fire, Stevie Wonder, and more. One night only, April 6th. Get your tickets now at floridatheater.com.
Mark Watson here to tell you a little bit about hardballcreative.com. It's your online promo haven with thousands of ideas on how to promote your company. We're open 24/7, 365.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
Get a healthy start in 2026. The Florida Department of Health in Duval County is here to help you get healthy and stay healthy all year long. Our dedicated team is committed to providing high-quality care and trusted public health services for our community. Our mission is simple: to protect, promote, and improve the health of you and your family. Learn more about our programs and services by visiting duval.floridahealth.gov.
If you're the one that takes control, keeps projects on track, and gets the job done right, Purple Heart Pools wants to talk to you. We're hiring project managers to lead pool builds and renovations across Jacksonville. This isn't just a job. It's a leadership role in a company built on accountability, communication, and precision. If you know how to manage crews, timelines, and deliver results, there's a spot for you here. Step up, take ownership, lead from the front. Purple Heart Pools, now hiring project managers. Apply online today.
Equal opportunity employee.
Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too, from Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, roll and lock bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality products and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. Now, the Monahan's golden moment. Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach, your local family jewelers.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. Well, the college basketball season will end this upcoming weekend. The Final Four on Saturday, of course, the national championship game on Monday. The NBA postseason is about a week and a half away. Most teams have around 5 or 6 games left in the regular season. You will then have the play-in situations in both the Eastern and the Western Conference, and then the 2-month gauntlet known as the NBA playoffs. Let's talk about all of it with Trevor Lane. He is the host of the NBA Front Office Show, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Trevor, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me back on.
Hey, Trevor, we always appreciate it. All right, let's begin with Orlando. Big news here locally. The Jaguars and the NFL announced that they're going to be playing football games in Orlando in 2027. I am a big Orlando Magic fan, so you would hope maybe this week with the news the Jaguars are going down there in 27 might have inspired the Magic. Instead, they were outscored 33-0 in a run by Toronto earlier this week. And then last night against Atlanta, Trevor, there was a point in that game where a professional basketball team, the Orlando Magic, was 2 of 23 behind the three-point line. That's 9%. They were shooting 9% from three-point range. What an embarrassment. What a pathetic performance. And I guess, unfortunately, you can only fire the coach and you can't fire some of the players on the team.
Yeah, that is typically the easier thing to change out for a club. It's the coach rather than some of the players. Of course, that doesn't mean that, players won't be moved. There won't be other things that happen, and there can be. But typically in a situation like this, you usually see a coach let go. And, players, look, shooting percentages are tough. There's a lot of variance in there. Players don't go out there trying to miss. But this has been a consistent thing for years now with Orlando, the inability to hit shots from the outside. They're 26th in the NBA in three-point percentage right now. I know Des Bane helps a little bit with that, but still, they've got to figure out a way to get over this curse or whatever it is and find ways to hit the long ball in Orlando.
Biggest disappointment in the NBA this year, the Orlando Magic. What's your thought there?
Certainly one of them. Yeah, they've got to be. I mean, that some of the injuries, of course, but in terms of the team on the floor that's playing basketball, yeah, I think we had high hopes that they were going to take a big step forward this season, that they were going to be right in the mix of things in the Eastern Conference, and they still kind of are. They're just not in the tier of team that we hope they would be as we're getting into the postseason here.
Trevor Lane, host of the NBA Front Office Show. Orlando and Miami, for that matter, both Florida teams are going to be in the play-in more than likely. I doubt Orlando gets out of the play-in. If they do, they won't get out of round one because they'll see either Detroit or Boston in round one. If Jamal Mosley wants any shot at saving his job, right, they have to get out of round one, correct?
I would think so. It would take a big, uplifting win like that, something that you wouldn't expect to see happen there. So it would take an upset win. I would have to imagine. Just the vibes around the team don't seem to be very good right now. And even getting out right now, as we currently sit here as the 9 seed, that's going to be a task just to get out of the play-in right now. Then if you do, you're talking about from the 9 seed, you'd wind up taking on Detroit. That's a pretty tough draw, the number 1 team in the East. Either way, it's a tough draw, Detroit or Boston. So, I would have to think that Jamal Mosley's seat is probably among the hottest in the NBA right now.
It looks like when, not if, Jamal Mosley will be let go. And if you're going to let a coach go, this would be a prime spot with the guys like Tom Thibodeau and Taylor Jenkins, and Mike Malone. I mean, what is your thought on the available candidates, and are you hearing anything in league circles about where Orlando may look?
I haven't heard anything at this point about, who's going to be looking to pick up some of the open jobs that are going to come up this summer. That's all stuff that, of course, will start hitting the news cycle once things settle a bit. But, you're just looking for an experienced coach that can command the respect of the players, somebody that can, and I'm not saying that Jamal Mosley doesn't. I do think there's a little bit of turmoil there, but you want somebody who can come in and really turn this into a team that is greater than the sum of its parts. That is a big part of the coach's job. Take the pieces that you've got and turn them into something even better than what they are individually. And so you want somebody who's going to have a real vision, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, we know this can be a very, very good team, but they just don't click on the offensive end. And some of that's going to be personnel. Some of that's going to be you're going to have to change out some players, bring in some certain pieces. But this team is far too expensive to be sitting where they currently are in the standings.
Again, you talk to a lot of people in league circles, and you said a lot of the coaching stuff hasn't really heated up yet. I don't think this is going to happen this year, but Todd Golden down here at the University of Florida was talked about for the North Carolina job. I think his next job is going to be in the NBA somewhere. I said a couple weeks ago, if I'm Orlando, I would at least call to see. Now, maybe they need a more experienced guy, as you said. Golden obviously has only ever been in college, and he's just 40 or 41 years old. But a guy like Todd Golden, do you think at some point he will find his way to the NBA?
Sure. I mean, a college coach in general, I can't speak a lot about Todd Golden, who's not somebody who I'm super familiar with, but when we do look at a college coach in general trying to hop into the NBA, there can be some hurdles, but also it can work out very, very well. Sometimes you can get some fresh ideas coming in. It's just got to be the right person. It's got to be the right person that you think is ready to make that leap. It's a very different world in the NBA, and it's somebody that you have to hope will really be able to come in, develop a program, and then see it through. And it's somebody that you're going to want to commit to for years, because you're also signing up for somebody who, as opposed to somebody who is a former NBA head coach, somebody who already knows the ins and outs of the NBA, you're signing up for some bumps in the road. There is a learning curve to coaching in the NBA, but ultimately it can really work out. I mean, we look at, Brad Stevens in Boston, the way that's worked out. Heck, even with the Lakers, look at, JJ Redick has largely worked out. Even with him, there's been bumps in the road. There's been some things that, that maybe a more experienced coach wouldn't have done, but they can also have a very quick upward trajectory. So there's certainly pros and cons to looking at a college coach and bringing them in. It's just got to be the right person coming on board and somebody that you're going to be able to commit to for the long haul.
Trevor, we got a lot of Orlando Magic fans in our area. We also have a lot of Miami Heat fans in our area here in Jacksonville. And maybe as equally disappointing as Orlando is Miami. In fact, Miami and Orlando would meet up in the 9-10 play-in right now, with the loser being eliminated. Orlando, if they've done one thing well all year, it's they've beaten Miami. They've beat them 5 times in the regular season. Why have the Heat been down by their standards this year?
Yeah, they're 2-8 in their last 10. I think the part of the challenge, and obviously Eric Spoelstra is a phenomenal coach, but one of the challenges that you've got with Miami, and you look at the advanced stats, will show this, they play a different style of basketball than most other teams. You don't see a lot of high pick and roll from them. And they do very well in the first quarter of games, in part because their style is so different. It takes a little bit of time to adjust. But then once teams adjust to that, once they kind of figure it out, then things start to go away from them. So Miami's in a tough spot as well, similar to Orlando here, where they've dropped games that they simply shouldn't have. They've got a loss recently to the Indiana Pacers. You've got losses to teams that they probably should not drop games to. They just can't seem to quite get their footing for an entire 48-minute game. So I think some of it too is when we look at Miami, they've got talent, but they've spent years now waiting and hoping to get the guy, hoping to go make the trade to go land a Giannis Antetokounmpo or someone along those lines, holding on to their assets rather than making a trade for, say, a Damian Lillard or something like that, which that's obviously been actually the right decision to make here. But they've been holding on to assets, hoping to get the guy. So that seems to be in their DNA. It's star chasing. We'll see if they can actually make that leap this year. But this is a roster that needs that alpha 1A guy. Obviously, Bam Adebayo is great. Tyler Hero is great. But they've got to add a piece here. And we'll see if they can do that this summer. But they just don't have the right mix right now. Stylistically, once teams figure them out, They play super fast, and that can create challenges for teams. But once they get figured out, they're just not able to ultimately get over the hump in these games.
Final moments, Trevor Lane, host of the NBA Front Office Show. Trevor, as we look big picture in the Eastern Conference, look, there's a big four, right? Detroit, Boston, New York, Cleveland, in whatever order you want to put them in. Is Atlanta threatening to join that club? I saw them in Orlando last night. They're like 17-2 in their last 19 games. I mean, the Hawks are playing ridiculous basketball right now.
Yeah, I think they've really found something. It is a wing-heavy team. They can put a lot of pressure on defensively. They're shooting the ball very well. And here's the thing about Atlanta. For a little while, when this run first started, you could look at it and say, well, they're just beating bad teams. And that's, you play who's on your schedule, but you're beating the Nets, the Wizards, teams like that are the teams you're racking up wins against. Now that's starting to shift. Now they're playing better teams and still winning. They beat Detroit. They beat Boston, right? They're getting some wins against better teams. And even the wins against teams that weren't as good, they were blowing them out. It was not close in a lot of these games. And so that told you that, hey, there's something here with this club. I do think Atlanta is very much knocking on that door. Out of everybody in the East, when we look at the East playoff race, if I am anybody in the top four, I am hoping to avoid Atlanta if possible. And the race is still super tight. So who knows exactly how all the pieces are going to fall here. I do think there is the top four, but if anybody is going to upset one of those top four, the Pistons, the Celtics, the Knicks, and the Cavs, it's Atlanta.
How much of a pain could Charlotte be in the first round for somebody?
Charlotte can be a real problem. They've moved all the way up to the 8th seed, and that's just their offense is so phenomenal. They do a great job on the boards. They're so explosive on the offensive side of the ball. I think the inexperience come playoff time will be an issue. I don't think they get out of the first round because of that, but they are so much fun to watch. They're so explosive with the way they can shoot the ball, how quickly they play. They move the ball around. They find open shooters. Con Knippel's been a phenomenal rookie. I think you can make the argument he should be rookie of the year. And this is going to be, they are a very dangerous team. I don't think it'll be enough to get them out of the first round, but it's also possible they just go on a heater and surprise somebody. So Charlotte is one of the more fun teams in the Eastern Conference. I think this is going to be a growth year, and next year will be the year that they are firmly in the playoff mix, and everybody's talking about how dangerous they are. This year, I think they wind up getting bounced fairly early just because of the lack of experience and perhaps some issues on the defensive side of the ball. But I also wouldn't put it past them because they can get so hot so fast that could potentially carry them through a series. I would just tend to think that they probably will be more of an early out, and then next year we'll see another leap forward.
Let's wrap up out west. There's so many good teams out west, from Denver to Minnesota, the Lakers, Houston, the Clippers. I mean, you name it. Really good teams. San Antonio, obviously. But can any of those teams beat Oklahoma City 4 times in a 7-game period?
I mean, right now you would have to say no. There's OKC is the best team in the NBA. San Antonio, I think, is the best team that has a shot to do it. They've got a winning record against OKC during the regular season. They're playing a different level of basketball right now. The Lakers are playing great. The Nuggets are playing great. I mean, you look right now between the Nuggets, the Lakers, the Spurs, the Thunder. They're 35-5 in their last 40 games. Now after last night's games, they're 36-4 now in the last 40 games. I mean, these teams just keep winning and winning and winning. But if anybody's going to upset OKC right now, the pick would have to be San Antonio. I think San Antonio and OKC are the 2 best teams in the NBA, and somebody's going to have to prove otherwise in the either Western Conference Finals or the NBA Finals. But right now, those are the 2 best teams. The Lakers, the Nuggets, the Rockets, the Wolves, maybe you could throw the Suns in there. I think they all have a puncher's chance, and they're all quality teams. But it's the Thunder, it's the Spurs that have separated themselves, I think, from the rest of the league.
Trevor Lane, NBA Front Office Show. Trevor, final question, and we'll hopefully have you back on either right before the playoffs or right during the middle of round number 1. But as we sit here on the doorstep of the NBA postseason, who's going to go to the finals out of both conferences? Sounds like you like OKC. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what do you think happens out west, and ultimately who comes out of the East?
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be a team like San Antonio. It could be somebody else coming out, but I'm not going to pick against the Thunder if I have to pick one team right now. They've got the experience. They've got the best defense in the NBA. SGA is obviously a phenomenal player, probably going to win, MVP again this year. So I will say OKC ultimately comes out of the West. Out of the East, I'm not a huge believer in the Pistons. Not that they can't do it. They've been the 1 seed all season for a reason, but they have that glaring weakness, and that's their ability to shoot the 3 ball. They do everything else very, very well, but I've got concerns about Detroit's shooting. So if I had to pick somebody to come out of the East right now, crazy as it may be, and as a Lakers guy, it doesn't feel great, but I think Boston's actually the favorite to come out of the Eastern Conference right now.
And what a season they've had, most of it without Jason Tatum. We know Tatum is back now. We'll ultimately see what goes down. But again, the NBA playoffs start in about 2 weeks' time, right? The play-in, and then obviously the first round will begin soon thereafter. Trevor Lane. Trevor, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the NBA front office show. You also do work at a lot of other locations, including Lakers Nation, and where they can find your work.
Yeah, the NBA front office show I host with Keith Smith. We cover the entire NBA there. You can find that over on YouTube, over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. I also host for Lakers Nation, covering the Lakers every day. And you can find that as well on YouTube and podcast platforms. And then I also have a little show called The Lakers Collective, where we have a few different Lakers reporters and myself. We get together and we break down the team a couple times a week. And then I have another place where I cover most of the rumors and things around the NBA, and that's called The Basketball Bulletin, which you can also find over on YouTube, podcast platforms, and the like. Keeps me very busy, but I love this league. There is so much going on around the NBA, and this is a great time of year. So thank you for having me on, Ryan. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a busy time of year for you. Thank you for taking time out for us here in Jacksonville, Trevor, and we'll talk soon, pal.
Sounds good. Thanks.
And thank you to Trevor Lane, host of the NBA Front Office Show, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. That was a pretty disgraceful performance last night by Orlando, losing by 29 at home to Atlanta. The Boo Birds were out. The Fire, Mosley, the head coach Jamal Mosley chants were out. It is a bad situation for the Magic. This is a year that cannot possibly get over quick enough, and I think you'll see some major changes coming to Orlando in that organization. So we certainly spent some time on that. Again, the NBA playoffs right around the corner, and really, whether you're Orlando, I know we have Miami fans in the area too, they're not much better, right? In fact, Orlando is the 9 seed, Miami's the 10 seed right now. Those two would meet in a win-or-go-home game in the NBA play-in tournament coming up here in about a week and a half if the standings stay as is. So horribly disappointing seasons for both the Magic and the Heat here in 2025/2026. So we spent some time on the NBA, but as you can imagine, a lot of it was on the National Football League, in particular the draft begins 3 weeks from tonight, April 23rd, 24th, and 25th up in Pittsburgh. The Jaguars, 11 draft picks total, including 4 in the top 100. It is the first time in the history of the franchise they go in without a first-round selection, but even despite that, they still have those 11 picks overall, and will be selecting 4 players inside the top 100. And we certainly spent some time on the offseason, not only here in Jacksonville, but around the rest of the AFC South. It's been pretty active in Nashville, Indianapolis, and Houston. Certainly much more active in those spots, both good and bad, than it really has been here for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, that will just about do it, man. Very, very busy Thursday evening edition here on Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. And we have a ton of people to thank. And thank you to Trevor Lane, host of the NBA Front Office Show, for joining us tonight. Thank you to Tyler Fornes, A to Z Sports.com, talking NFL draft, particularly focusing on the defensive prospects in the draft class. I get the sense it's going to be a very heavy defensive class for Jacksonville, and we spent some time with Tyler on that earlier tonight. And then back in hour number 1, Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated, as we looked back on the Jaguar offseason, also looked around the rest of the AFC South as well. And we appreciate Matt for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Now, we will be back tomorrow night on a Friday to close out the week beginning at 8 o'clock, and we do hope that you join us then. Aaron Williams was your producer tonight. Aaron, great job as always. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Thursday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have a terrific remainder of your Thursday evening, and we will talk to you again tomorrow night to close out the week on a Friday beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
Here's a